I'll give you one more metric, and that's usage retention. So if somebody starts their product this month, let's say they start in January 1st, are they still using the product on February 1st? Are they still using the product on March 1st? Percentage of our users are still using the product. That's an important metric as well. So all of these metrics, as I mentioned, they are team metrics, not silo metrics, and help drive a good product-led growth go-to-market.
Welcome to Process Unpacked. Dive into practical insights, expert advice, and real stories from businesses of every size. Join us as we tackle project management challenges like team collaboration and workload management. Let's get started.
Welcome to Process Unpacked, the podcast where we explore actionable strategies to improve workflows and team performance. I'm Amir, your host, and in each episode, we dive into real-world solutions that help teams and businesses work smarter, not harder. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by Todd Birzer, principal consultant at Kevolve Product Management, a Udemy instructor, and the author of The 3-Minute Product Manager, a book I highly suggest you check out. Todd has over 25 years of experience helping product teams align strategy with execution, making him a go-to expert for driving sustainable growth in today's fast-paced industries. In this episode, we'll unpack fundamentals of product-led growth, an approach where the product itself drives customer acquisition, retention, and revenue. Todd will share his insights on why PLG is reshaping the B2B SaaS landscape, how to overcome common challenges, and how tools like Meagle can help teams coordinate effectively to unlock success. So why don't we get started? Todd, thanks again for joining us. Really do appreciate your time. You know, the way we like to start these podcasts oftentimes is kind of get a little bit of background, your origin story. You know, where did you start? What was the path that you traveled and how you ended up in the role and business that you're in today? So maybe you can share that journey in product management and what inspired you to found Kevolve.
Yeah, Amir, thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I have led product teams in the US and Canada and consulted with product teams, coach product managers. Of course, I'm biased, but I think the product management is just one of the world's best jobs. If we do our work right, we can delight our customers, we can knock back our competitors, we can for products and our companies for long-term success. Unfortunately, sometimes teams get stuck, managers get stuck. So it's always been my motivation to help them out, to help them become more strategic, to help them find impact, to help them go big.
That's great. That's great. It's pretty exciting stuff that you're working on now, and I'm excited to talk about that a bit more as we go through the conversation. So you've worked with product teams across various industries. You know, how have you seen product-led growth change in the landscape of B2B SaaS companies?
Yeah, it's a big change. So, and certainly in some industries, it's been a really kind of monumental change. So if you are a startup and you're entering a space that's prone to a product-led growth go-to-market model, you have the opportunity to knock back some sales-led growth competitors. And if you are a sales-led growth company, maybe you've been around for a while, maybe you have a nice market share in an industry, you've got a competitive threat coming in. So it actually is a big difference. I'm happy to give an example of this if it would help.
Please, that would be great.
So I have, in my past work, I worked in truck driver safety. So commercial fleets, so safety and compliance for trucking. And let's think about an example. So let's say that I am a truck driver and I am driving from Portland to Seattle. I get to Seattle. I need to actually check my truck. Okay. My driving has to be safe, but for compliance reasons, I need to check my truck as well. So I need to do what's called a driver vehicle inspection report. So it's a DVIR. So driver vehicle inspection report. I got to inspect my truck, make sure it's in good working order. So let's say I'm a new company. I just did this. I'm starting, I'm in Seattle. I got to check my truck. What do? Well, of course, I'm going to go onto the internet. I'm going to type in DVIR and two companies are going to pop up. Okay. So the first company is Geotab. Okay. And the second company is a company called Safety Culture. So I'm going to click on Geotab. So click on Geotab, take me to a website, it explains what a DVIR is. And then it says, schedule a demo. There's a blue box up in the corner, schedule a demo. If I'm a truck driver, I was like, schedule a demo. I need to do a DVIR right now. I need to inspect my truck right now. Okay, so, that's not really going to work. It's schedule a demo. Might be tomorrow, might be the next day, might be next week. I'm not sure. This thing. So then I go back to the website and I check safety. I click on the other company, which is safety culture. So safety culture brings me to a website. It says similar information about DVIR. And then it says sign up for free. Okay? So I click the button. I sign up for free. I quickly set up my account. And then, suddenly in front of me, there's a template that says heavy vehicle inspection report. Okay, so, the template, I go, heavy vehicle inspection report. It runs me through a list of questions. I check my truck. I go through the questions. I check my truck. And then it says, are you happy with this report? Send it to your supervisor, put in their email. So all of it, when I did this, when I practiced it, when I tried this out, all of this took me about 10 minutes. So I wasn't really inspecting the truck. So let's say it took 20. Okay. So start to finish, 20 minutes. I got my DVIR, my truck inspection. That was with Safety Culture, which is a product-led growth company. With Geotab, which is more of a sales-led growth company. It would have been next week. And this is the power of product-led growth. This is why it's so disruptive. This is why it's so powerful for new entrants coming into a market that can really come in, offer a lot of value to customers, and really take established market share from long-established companies.
No, that's great. And that actually kind of feeds right into where I was going with this question is, what is it that most excites you about this PLG as a strategy, and why do you think this is resonating so widely today?
So it is a very powerful go-to-market model. One of the things that it does do is that it allows you to scale and grow incredibly quickly. If you found some kind of product market fit, you can scale and grow extremely quickly. So just in terms of statistics, leading product-led growth companies can grow at 2x the rate of traditional SaaS companies. Okay, that's average. If we want to give an outstanding example, maybe extreme example is Zoom during the pandemic years. They went from $752 million in annual recurring revenue, ARR, to $3.5 billion in 1 year. No sales-led growth company could have ever done that. They could have never done that. You could never demo that quickly. You could never sign up customers that quickly. But with product-led growth, a lot of that's automated, can grow extremely. So that's one of the, that's a really strong
please continue. Yeah.
No, and that's really what, Zoom is now an example, is really what enables this go-to-market model just to be so powerful.
Yeah, that example of Zoom really, I think, resonates. Anyone in the working world, I think, experienced that need and that expanded, everyone had to be introduced to it, whether they wanted to or not during the global pandemic, right? It was, how are we going to connect and how are we going to continue our work day to day? So, product-led growth and, really, just product-led growth. It demands a deep understanding of customers, right? I think you've touched a little bit on that. But what challenges do teams face when they're trying to collect and act on customer insights, Todd?
No, that's right. With any product team, product-led growth or not, we really need to understand our customers at a really deep level to find innovation, to find success. With product-led growth teams, it's important to think about customers both from a qualitative standpoint as well as a quantitative standpoint. Okay, so qualitative, I'm thinking about, just conversations like this with your customers, really understanding, just having good discussions with them and seeing them, how they're using, what are their needs, how are they using their products. You also need a quantitative understanding of your customers. And this often comes from product analytics data. So to understand how people are using our products. With product-led growth, you need to put both of those two together in a very tight fashion. So we really need to get the product analytics. We need to understand how people are using our products. And the quantitative side of this will help feed into the qualitative. So the two feed together. Okay. So we might see things in our product analytics data makes us question, why is that? But that means we need to go back, and that gives us prompts to go back and talk to our customers and ask them. Also, when we talk to our customers, we need to really, when we talk to our customers, we're going to hear things that maybe confuse us or puzzle us, but then we go back to product analytics and we might see some evidence of that. So we need to put the two together. The mistakes that a lot of teams make are they do one or the other. Product-led growth companies in particular sometimes look heavily at product analytics, but sometimes do a little bit less of the qualitative approach, but we really need both.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And so, expanding on that into a cross-functional alignment, right? It's not always just the same team, same groups working on these things together, but looking at cross-functional alignment, we know it's critical for PLG, but maybe what are some of the common missteps that teams make when they're coordinating across sales, marketing, and even product?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for product-led growth go-to-market model to work, we really need marketing, product, engineering, customer success, sales to really all be working tightly together. It's really got to be one integrated system if we're going to get this model to work. The problem that teams run into is they continue to think in terms of silos. So I am marketing. This is what I do. I am customer success. This is what I do. If you think that way, this model is not going to work. I'll give one example here. So let's say I'm in a marketing team and I'm getting measured on signups. Okay. So how many people sign up for our application? If potentially I could get a lot of people to sign up that really are the wrong target customer, that really don't find value in our product. And if that happens, it really doesn't help anybody, right? It doesn't do us any. So this is where we need to think beyond our silos. We need to think in this particular example, we might think of activated signups as our metrics. Get people to sign up. And activated means they found value in the product. So get people to sign up that have found value in the product or that can find value in the product. That's a much more meaningful metric. It's a team metric as opposed to a silo metric. And I think that's where, to make this product-led growth go-to-market model work, we have to work as a team, just work as silos.
Got it. Yeah, completely agreed. I think we've all learned, regardless of what the product or industry is, the siloed approach never works. So how do product teams deal with struggles of like prioritizing PLG initiatives amongst, competing business goals, right? Because I think you've got different teams, different business goals, maybe even different project goals. They all have maybe a common end goal, a finish line that they're driving towards. But how do you deal with the struggle of prioritizing those initiatives?
No, that's an important question. It is a hard thing to transition. If you were a sales-led growth company, it is a hard thing to transition to product-led growth. It's just a completely different re-architecting of our go-to-market model. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to kind of work through. So that takes prioritization. Teams will struggle with this the way that a lot of companies have done this. I'll use the example of HubSpot. Instead of trying to, when they move from a sales-led growth model to a product-led growth model, instead of trying to do everything once, they picked up a small kind of product and they focused in on that kind of both in terms of risk management. So in case this thing doesn't work, but also in terms of prioritization, they gave a small team, they made it empowered, and they gave that team the engineering resources, all the resources they needed to complete that project without having to rely on the big main engineering teams. That's how they manage the prioritization. Essentially, you're giving an empowered team the resources so that they don't have to manage the priorities within their team. They know their priorities and they don't have to compete with the main, with the main.
Got it. That's good insight. So metrics, of course, play a huge role in everything in the business world, but especially in a PLG strategy. What barriers do teams face, Todd, when they're trying to measure success, whether it's activation rates or feature adoption and so on?
Yeah. So here, let me use an example. I talked to a company out of Philadelphia and San Francisco, the company Guru. So it's getguru.com. Guru is an excellent company. With their metrics, they use their North Star metric is 2-week activation rate. So all the people that sign up for our product, what percentage of those people actually activate value in the product within 2 weeks? That's their North Star metric. And this is what makes companies like Guru so good, so excellent, is that they focus tightly on those and they work to improve those metrics. It is tough to do that. I mean, for one thing, there's two issues. You've got to get your product analytics set. You've got to, in terms of activation rate, you've got to decide what does it actually mean for somebody to find value in our product? What 3, 5 to 7 steps they need to take to prove that they have activated. So you got to be able to track all that. And then we've got to do something with all of that data. There is an issue that a lot of our product analytics data, that those kinds of applications like Mixpanel or whatever, they don't talk well with CRM applications. Okay. It's just kind of two different worlds. But of course we need to get that product into into the hands of our sales teams or customer success teams or our marketing teams, and that means CRM. There's a translation that has to happen. So that makes it a little difficult.
So Todd, onboarding, I think we've learned is a critical part of PLG's touch point. What mistakes do companies make when they're trying to design an onboarding workflow that will lead a user to that aha moment?
No, it is true. And if we're going to move to a product-led growth go-to-market model, we have to get onboarding right. That has to be an area, big investment. The problems that teams run into, happens with a lot of companies, is that they just clutter up that onboarding process too much. So if you could say your value point is here, we want to get your customer, the person who's trying your product, to here, what do we put in the way before they get? Of course, they're going to have to sign up for an account. How many steps do we have in that process? And unfortunately, too many companies have just kind of cluttered that up. And it really takes work to streamline that so that you get right to this.
What are some examples? Do you have any of, companies effectively using, onboarding to drive the customer adoption and retention?
Let me use the example of DocuSign. So, I had DocuSign recently. I had a client in Vancouver, British Columbia. I needed to send them a statement of work to sign. So I signed up for DocuSign. I did this. I went through their onboarding process. Now, in that onboarding process, I went through 3 steps. I signed up for my account. I adopted my signature. And then the next step was send a document for signature. So I uploaded the document. I sent it. So 3 steps. And wow, I got to my value moment, because that's the value moment of a company like DocuSign, is to get to, send a document out for signature. That's what I wanted to do. So not cluttered at all, extremely streamlined, just 3 simple steps. Now there's more steps to the onboarding. So, they want you to, DocuSign would like you to create a template. If you're going to use a similar type of document multiple times, ask you to upload a photo, to personalize your account, ask you to brand your account if you would like with your company brand. All of those steps, they're part of the onboarding process, but they're moved after the value point, after I have documented. So this is how great product-led growth companies are doing it. DocuSign is a great example.
Got it. So Todd, tell me, as far as metrics like churn reduction, feature engagement, those things are a signal that a PLG strategy is succeeding. Would you agree? And maybe you can elaborate a little more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we need to get some key metrics in place for this whole product-led growth go-to-market motion to work. Let me just talk about 5 key metrics that work for a lot of companies. And these are all team metrics versus silo metrics, as we talked earlier. Mm-hmm. So activated signups is a great one. So we talked about that earlier, but how many people have signed up for our product, but have actually found value in our product? So instead of just signups, that's a great metric. Engagement score. So how active are people in our product? Activation rate. So what % of people have found value in our product, and either by account or by individual. So activation rates important. We haven't talked about this, but you track your product qualified leads. So there are triggers within our product analytics. There's triggers within our product that suggest maybe a client is ready for an upgrade. They're maybe ready to become a paying user, or maybe ready to expand their usage. And we often want to have qualified leads that trigger customer success teams or the sales teams to go out and talk, to reach out and talk to them. There's another one. I'll give you one more metric, and that's usage retention. So if somebody starts their product this month, let's say they start in January 1st, are they still using the product on February 1st? Are they still using the product on March 1st? Percentage of our users are still using the product. That's an important metric as well. So all of these metrics, as I mentioned, they are team metrics, not silo metrics, and help drive a good product-led growth go-to-market.
That's great. Team metrics, not product, not a siloed metrics. That's a good focus to maintain in any business. So talk to me a little bit about automation and workflows. What are some unique ways that teams have used those things? Whether it's Meagle, of course, or other tools to streamline a PLG initiative.
Yeah, no, that's important. So a lot of what happens in a product-led growth go-to-market motion is automated. So that's what makes this system so efficient. It enables us to scale so quickly. First of all, there has to be great coordination across teams. Okay. We've got to know our processes. We've got to track our processes of how we're working across marketing, product, engineering, customer success, sales. So we've got to really have tight processes in there. And you're right. Meagle, applications like Meagle are great at really kind of make that work. So excellent there. The other thing that we do with this automation is that we have playbooks. So we trigger actions. We have playbooks, for example. I'll give you an example of what I mean when a playbook. It might be easier to explain it this way. So let's say count of greater than 100 employees reaches activation rate 80%, engagement score of 60. We tracked all of that in our product analytics. If that happens, that becomes a trigger, and then we trigger an action, and the action might be a human touch. So maybe a customer success team representative or a sales team, sales rep reaches. And it might also be kind of a technology touch. There might be an in-app upsell message. So that's how product-led growth companies automate a lot of this. They set up these product triggers. They set up these playbooks for how to deal with different situations.
So what about, making, small changes? Yeah. Are there any examples top of mind? And these examples you're sharing are great because I think it really drives home the points you're making with our audience. But is there an example of like a simple change, a small change in process or focus that ended up having a ripple effect, a big difference in aligning teams to achieving that PLG goal?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure there is a simple thing to do for product-led growth. I'm not sure there's single changes that we can do. But one thing I would suggest is really kind of change that mindset from thinking about silos to teams. So you can use metrics to help you do that. So thinking in terms of silo metrics, don't do that, but think in terms of team metrics, really re-architect your approach based on that. But again, the product-led growth is fairly complex. I'm not sure there's really simple answers for this, but that is certainly one step. That's pretty.
What about testing and validation? Are there ways to test and validate PLG strategies before you really kind of push all your chips in on a full scale implementation?
There are, and it is important is really a full re-architecting. This product-led growth go-to-market motion is a re-architecting of our go-to-market motion. So we really need to do a lot of work, and we got to test and validate. And it can also be risky as well. So yes, we want to do that. I mentioned HubSpot earlier. So HubSpot just essentially started with a very small product. They empowered a team to do that. Small product that grew, but a small product that if they failed, if revenue dropped as people move from a paying subscription to a free trial. If they had ran into other issues, fairly minimal impact because it was working on a very small product, but they used that to learn and then they expand from there.
Got it. And what about the differences, right, between managing a PLG strategy for a startup versus a major enterprise?
No, that's important. The startup, you're coming in, it's actually a lot easier for startups. You're starting from scratch with a product-led growth go-to-market motion. Matches, what startups want very well. I mean, I think you've worked in startups. And when I worked in startups, you are cash strapped. You have to stay lean. You don't want to hire a bunch of people at the beginning and then not have your revenue come in. So product-led growth model is a great one for that because you can start very lean. You don't have to hire a large number of people, There's a big staff. A lot of the approaches are automated. So great for a startup. Enterprises have a different issue. Enterprises that are traditionally sales-led go with a sales-led go-to-market motion. They have it's tough. It's tough to do this. For one thing, as I mentioned, revenue might drop as you move from a free trial. You move people from a paying level. You suddenly introduce a free trial or freemium product. You're going to have people downgrade. It could cause a revenue drop. Deal size is in a product-led growth go-to-market motion. It's often smaller at the beginning. Few people in a company will try it compared to, maybe you're in a sales-led company. Maybe you're signing up a longer-term contract with a lot of users. So deal size might drop. It might become more unpredictable. So you're not sure how you actually depend on usage to get your revenue, but you're not sure what's going to happen with usage. Okay, so that's an issue. Think about sales commissions. How do you manage sales commissions? This is all problems that enterprises run into. And really, then the last one I'll mention is with enterprises, they really have to rank onboarding. Certainly I've worked in companies in the past that onboarding is just kind of, okay, we'll do it for the contract side. We're not so worried about that. That approach does not work with product-led growth companies. You really need to invest in onboarding. And that may pull resources from things that you have been spending time on. For example, maybe customization requests for particular enterprise clients. So all of that is a change. All of that makes it difficult for enterprises to make all this happen.
A lot of stuff to consider. That's for sure. That is for sure. But I guess if you're serious about, growing your product and scaling, I mean, these are the things you have to think about and more, multiples more of that. So when you're aligning teams, Todd, for PLG, how do you strike that balance between maintaining agility and then establishing structure, right? Because they're both important for scale. But how do you find that balance? Is there any lessons you've learned or any insight there?
Yeah, I think it's important to do both, to set the structure, but allow for agility. But there's that can be tricky to do. Really, in terms of setting the structure, we get the teams in place, in particular, a growth team in place when you're moving to a product-led growth go-to-market motion. When you're moving to PLG, you set up a growth team that spans these silos. You empower that team with the right resources. You set the metrics, kind of team metrics. You set expectations. Setting the structure in terms of people and processes and resources. That sets the structure. After that, once you've done that, then you allow the teams to figure out how to do that. How do we get to that? If we go back to our guru example, how do we actually increase our 2-week activation rates? What do we do? How are we going to do that? We're going to have to experiment, try some things, see what works, see what doesn't work. That's where the agility comes in. So it has to be that combination. It can't just be one or the other.
So, and that's a great example of, how to find that balance. What about storytelling? What role does storytelling play in PLG internally with teams and externally with customers?
Yeah, storytelling is an interesting one. I mean, I think it's important for all companies to tell good stories about themselves and about their products. But I think with product-led growth, it's actually a little less important. And the reason I'll say that is because I've worked for sales-led growth companies. Let's just for one example, I was working for a company in California and we were looking to sign up clients for 3 to 5 year contracts, ticket items, 3 to 5 year contracts, mostly doing that off of sales demos, maybe some referrals. That takes a good story. You have to get your story right. Mm-hmm. Now let's switch it to a product-led growth model. All I'm really wanting to do is tell you how this product will help you in your life or in your work. After that, you're going to try the product and the product is going to tell the story. So I think in that case, the storytelling we do with a product-led growth company wants to position the product correctly, wants to interest you to try the product and attract the right people. But after that, the product's going to do the hard work.
That's a great little snippet there. The product is going to do the storytelling. And then I agree. I think that's a really good way of thinking of it. So in your consulting work, Todd, have you observed any trends in the ways that companies are scaling their PLG efforts?
Yeah. With product-led growth companies, we're seeing a number of new things. It is a new go-to-market motion. So there's just rapid evolution of the ideas. It makes it a very exciting space. Some of the things that are new as people scale their product-led growth go-to-market, we're seeing a lot of innovation around pricing. So if you think about how we used to price SaaS models, how we used to do this, there were seat licenses. So how many people have access to our product? So we start there. A number of companies are now moving to usage-based pricing. So it's actually removing the access restrictions and charging instead for consumption. So how much are you using your product? And this is even going beyond this. Some companies are even exploring resolutions. Just for an example, let's say we have an AI agent that helps. That's our product. We have an AI agent that helps customers resolve issues with our product. So technical issues. You could charge for the number of support people that access that. That's the usage-based pricing. You could charge for how many times people use the AI agent, but you could also charge for actually solve a customer's problem. So we're seeing trends. A lot of people are exploring with pricing. So that's one of the trends. I'll give one other trend, and that is that companies are especially startups, they're just staying leaner longer. So they're kind of postponing hiring, kind of using the automation areas, PLG to take advantage of that to keep their staffing a bit more.
Startups are staying leaner longer. That's
Leaner longer. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You've shared a ton of amazing takeaways, Todd, throughout the conversation here. But what would you say is like that one big takeaway from your career in helping companies embrace PLG?
Yeah, I think just the nice thing about PLG is it can make good companies excellent. So there's just so much innovation in this area, and there's so many things we can learn about attracting the right user, about great onboarding, about converting customers from free to paid to expanding usage over time. This motion can really make companies, product teams kind of move from good to excellent.
And if you could shape that into advice, what would be some advice you would give a product manager about this?
First of all, I would say if you're in an industry where you've got competitors that are moving to product-led growth, if you're an industry that is open to a product-led growth model, not all industries are. If you're that, then I would say, if we can, we do. Okay. If we can, we need to move to that model. It's just so powerful. Okay? And if you think you can't, then ask the question, are we sure? Okay. So if you've got competitors that are coming in, and they're managing it, then you might be in trouble. So if you really can't, if you're in an industry that really can't go fully with a free model, free freemium or free trials, if you just really can't do that, and there's certainly a lot of companies that can't, then we can still be guided by a lot of the best practices of product-led growth. So I would say just try to incorporate those best practices into your work.
And how do you see the future of PLG evolving, Todd? Like, how should product teams prepare for it?
Yeah, I think, I work a lot with product managers. If I think about product managers and product teams, product-led growth is really an innovative area. And so even if you're not doing it today, I would probably dive into it and kind of start getting a little closer to. First of all, make sure you get your product analytics in place. Make sure you think about team metrics, all those team metrics we talked about. Really think about onboarding. Don't leave it as this kind of tired stepchild of your product. Really kind of work on your onboarding, get customers to value fast. Try to think about what product triggers from your product analytics could spark action by your customer success team or your sales team. Even if you're not doing a product-led growth go-to-market motion, that's okay. You can do all of these things and, build up your own knowledge base and also, using these best practices improve your product and your company as well.
This has been great, Todd. I greatly appreciate all the insight and learnings. I've learned a ton here about PLG. I feel like but what I want to make sure of here as we start to wrap up is, where can listeners learn more about Kevolve, your courses, and of course your book, The 3-Minute Product Manager? How can they stay connected? How can they find out more? Because I know I'm going to. I want to continue to learn more about this.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, thanks. I have courses on product management on Udemy. So take a look there out on Udemy. You can look for that. As you mentioned, I have a book out on Amazon. So The 3-Minute Product Manager. I've also you can also, if you'd like consulting help, if you need more help, happy to reach out to me. Probably LinkedIn is the best way.
That's great. Well, Todd, thank you again for your time. This was a great classroom session by you and teaching us all about, the PLG strategy and really mentality of growing a platform, growing a business. And I'm excited to learn more, excited to talk to you more.
Great. Thanks very much for having me.
Likewise, our pleasure. Thanks again for joining us on Process Unpacked. And thanks again for Todd for his time. If you're a new listener, what took you so long? Welcome. And if you've been with us from the start, thanks very much. We're excited. Stay tuned for future episodes coming soon. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning in to Process Unpacked. Follow us wherever you listen to podcasts or start a free trial of Meagle at www.meagle.com.